Hello guys, this is Real Recaps. In this video, I will talk about a 2024 American psychological thriller film, Detained. Before we start, I hope you will like and subscribe to the channel. The story opens at a crime scene where a team of forensic specialists is hard at work. Detective Lerner, despite his extensive experience, had never come across such an unusual case. A fire had been set intentionally, leading to multiple fatalities. Meanwhile, a woman named Rebecca woke up in a police station, disoriented and unsure of how she had ended up there. She had no memory of the preceding events. Detective Moon informed her that she had fallen asleep at the wheel of her car while intoxicated. Initially, Rebecca assumed this would result in just a fine, but the situation turned out to be much graver. Detective Moon advised her to cooperate. Rebecca vaguely recalled drinking heavily at a bar that night and receiving a call from her friend Sarah, but everything beyond that was a haze. She insisted she had never driven under the influence before, though the detective was skeptical. Moon allowed Rebecca to use the restroom, even though it violated procedure. Still unable to comprehend the seriousness of her predicament, Rebecca attempted to escape through the restroom window, but the bars thwarted her. Panicking, she returned to the interrogation room, where Detective Avery offered her a donut and resumed questioning. Meanwhile, Moon interviewed a witness connected to Rebecca. The witness, a man named Robert, described meeting Rebecca at the bar. They had been mutually attracted to each other despite their age difference. Robert testified that he had tried to stop a visibly drunk Rebecca from driving that night, but she ignored his warnings. Rebecca denied this claim, though the bartender allegedly corroborated Robert's account. Evidence began to mount against Rebecca, suggesting she had hit someone with her car that night. The detectives were determined to identify the victim. Rebecca was temporarily held in a cell with a scruffy man named Sullivan since the women's cells were under renovation. Rebecca's friend Sarah visited her, cryptically suggesting that Rebecca needed to escape. Still confused, Rebecca reluctantly resumed the interrogation. She speculated that her drink had been spiked, but the detectives revealed that tests found no foreign substances. She had simply been very drunk. They also disclosed that a cyclist had been struck in the same area that night. Rebecca was advised to cooperate for her own benefit. She then remembered Sarah sharing good news during their last conversation. Sarah's adoption process had finally been finalized. Rebecca had been genuinely happy for her friend. As for Robert, Rebecca barely remembered him and demanded legal representation. Rebecca was assigned a lawyer named Isaac. The detectives showed photos of her damaged car, but she insisted she had no memory of the incident. During the interrogation, Isaac argued there was no concrete proof Rebecca had hit the cyclist. Rebecca dreaded returning to her cell, where Sullivan was muttering incoherently. Another cellmate, Jess, was a young woman from a wealthy family. Suddenly, Sullivan became violent, pinning Detective Moon against the wall. Moon instructed Rebecca to grab a gun and shoot. Rebecca complied but accidentally shot both Sullivan and Moon. Detective Avery arrived too late to stop the incident and immediately reported it. Overwhelmed, Rebecca repeatedly insisted she had only been trying to help. Avery, however, dismissed her protests. Realizing she might be blamed for Moon's death, Rebecca spiraled into despair, fearing a life sentence without parole. Desperate, she offered to pay Avery $1 million to resolve the situation. Skeptical of her claim, Avery demanded $2 million. Tearfully, Rebecca negotiated it down to $1.5 million, which Avery accepted. He gave her 1 minute to access her online bank account. Left alone, Rebecca noticed discrepancies, such as fake police badges, and remembered Sarah's warning to escape. A phone call to the station also turned out to be fake. When her lawyer returned, Rebecca accused Avery of being an actor and aimed a gun at him. The lawyer tried to calm her, dismissing her claims about props. Avery explained the building had previously housed a property crimes division now under renovation. Rebecca continued demanding her release. When she fired the gun, it was revealed to be fake. Robert then attacked Rebecca from behind, rendering her unconscious. It became clear the entire scenario was staged, raising questions about the perpetrators' motives. They were professional con artists with a history of similar schemes. Moon was alive, and Jess and Sullivan were revealed to be lovers. Rebecca woke up handcuffed and confronted Avery, directly asking who he really was. Avery revealed he was a close friend of Lou Denton. He and Denton had grown up together as orphans but later pursued separate careers. Avery accused Rebecca of having an affair with Denton, which she confirmed but claimed she hadn't known he was married. Denton had recently died, and Avery believed Rebecca had stolen his money and fled. Rebecca denied involvement in Denton's death, explaining that he had appeared at her doorstep in fear, handing her a key to a safe containing cash. Denton mentioned being pursued by someone with unfinished business. The next day, he was found dead. Frustrated, Avery demanded Rebecca hand over the $8 million he believed Denton had left her. Rebecca insisted the safe had only contained $2 million. Denton and several employees had died in an office fire, though the culprit remained unknown. Avery grew impatient, reiterating his demand for the remaining money. Rebecca's earlier remark about someone who disliked unfinished business prompted Isaac to mention Giovanni. The name alone unnerved everyone, as Giovanni was an elusive con artist known for leaving no survivors. Rebecca leveraged this fear to turn suspicion toward Avery, insinuating that his detailed knowledge of Denton's business made him a potential Giovanni. Avery countered, accusing Rebecca of buying time to mislead them. The group resolved to force Rebecca to access her bank account through torture. Sullivan, tasked with this, faltered when his hands trembled due to withdrawal symptoms, dropping his tool. Needing air, he stepped away. Moon expressed doubts about Rebecca's claims of only having $2 million, but Avery dismissed her. Meanwhile, Robert requested a private talk with Avery, leaving Rebecca momentarily unwatched. Spotting a razor blade on the floor, Rebecca began to plan. In their private discussion, Robert voiced frustration at Avery's condescension. Avery dismissed Robert's abilities, calling him a petty thief unsuited for complex lies, but offered him a chance to prove himself. Robert, banking on charm, approached Rebecca in a friendly manner. Recognizing him as her captor, Rebecca pretended to cooperate. Robert returned her sedative pills, hoping to gain her trust. Sensing his unease, Rebecca whispered that Avery was untrustworthy. Rebecca then asked Robert to escort her to the restroom. Avery, seeing potential in this ploy, allowed it, thinking it might yield information. Once inside, Rebecca attempted to break the window bars but was stopped by Robert. Turning the tables, she threatened him with the razor blade and took him hostage. Avery, unfazed, shot Robert in the leg to demonstrate his expendability. Robert, horrified by Avery's coldness, was left helpless as Rebecca was restrained again. Robert's condition worsened, and though he begged for help, Avery refused to take him to the hospital, deeming it a risk to their operation. Sullivan used the razor blade to quicken their progress. Isaac, unable to endure Robert's suffering, could only watch. Robert succumbed to his injuries as Rebecca ominously declared that none of them would survive, predicting their fates. Avery silenced Rebecca, denying he was Giovanni. Their priority was the money. Before Sullivan could resume torturing Rebecca, he collapsed from a sudden, fatal seizure. The cause remained a mystery. Jess, heartbroken over Sullivan's death, wept bitterly. Despite her grief, Avery ordered her to take over Sullivan's role. Driven by vengeance, Jess inflicted severe pain on Rebecca. Rebecca cleverly accused Avery of poisoning Sullivan, enraging Jess, who attacked her furiously. Moon intervened just in time, pulling Jess away. Realizing Rebecca's manipulative skills, Avery decided to break her spirit through isolation in darkness. He calmed Jess by promising she would receive her share of the loot as well as Sullivan's. A knock at the door interrupted their plans. The group remained silent until the intruders left. Avery announced they had 1 hour before the building would be demolished. He whispered instructions to Moon, handed Isaac a gun, and privately confronted Rebecca. She accused him of starting the fire at Denton's office, but their argument reached no resolution. Avery escalated the situation by bringing in Sarah, bound and vulnerable, threatening to harm her unless Rebecca cooperated. It was revealed that Sarah had refused a bribe to join Avery's scheme, forcing them to involve her by coercion. Rebecca dismissed Sarah as merely an acquaintance, a single mother with whom she occasionally shared wine. Avery remained unconvinced, determined to retrieve Denton's money at any cost. Moon intervened, revealing that Sarah had unknowingly adopted Denton and Rebecca's child. This revelation explained Rebecca's connection to Sarah. Moon, unwilling to see more bloodshed, escorted Sarah out of the room. Avery scolded Moon for her sentimentality, reminding her of the high costs of her parents' chemotherapy. He insisted they focus on the task. Avery then decided to use Rebecca's son as leverage. Meanwhile, Jess began persuading Isaac to eliminate Avery, arguing that they couldn't risk him being Giovanni. When Jess tried to take the gun, Isaac pushed her away. She hit her head and died instantly. Panicked, Isaac fled the scene. Avery confronted Rebecca, using her son's life as leverage. He threatened to harm the boy unless she transferred the money. Rebecca screamed in anguish when Avery fired his weapon, only to discover it was a staged scene. The carrier contained a doll, intended to terrify her into submission. Left alone, Rebecca began preparing to transfer the funds. Avery, pleased with Isaac's handling of Jess, revealed her death had been planned all along. Isaac, still in shock, said nothing. Meanwhile, Sarah attempted to free herself. Avery handed Rebecca a laptop, demanding she complete the transfer. He reassured her that her son would be unharmed but insisted Denton's death was her responsibility. Rebecca noticed Jess's absence and deduced her fate. When Moon confronted Avery, he shifted the blame to Isaac, calling it an accident. Isaac suddenly pointed a gun at Avery, vowing to protect Rebecca's son. Moon, in tears, raised her gun as well, arguing that the money was necessary to save their parents. Isaac, however, refused to believe their parents would approve of such blood money. Taking advantage of the moment, Avery attacked and killed Isaac. Moon then turned her weapon on Avery, proposing they split the money. However, Avery betrayed her, and a violent struggle ensued. During the chaos, Rebecca freed herself. Avery, taunting her, claimed she should have taken the money and fled. Rebecca revealed her role in poisoning Sullivan and manipulating the group. Furious, Avery attempted to shoot her, but his gun malfunctioned. Rebecca fired back, having armed herself during her escape. With her son in tow, she prepared to leave but encountered Sarah, who had called the police. Rebecca quickly killed Sarah to eliminate the threat. Rebecca poured gasoline throughout the warehouse and set it ablaze. Avery, gravely injured, begged for mercy, but Rebecca ignored him. In his final moments, he realized Rebecca was Giovanni. As the flames engulfed the building, Giovanni escaped with her son. Detective Lerner and his forensic team arrived later, concluding that this was the same criminal responsible for the fire at Denton's office. Rebecca, armed with false identities, vanished without a trace. The end. Thanks for watching.